Hey, what's going on, everybody, for the 100 Line interview series? My name is Nuke, and today we're joined by Sarah Pitard. They're the voice of Darumi Amemiya in 100 Line Last Defense Academy, and you can also hear them as the voice of Osiris in Aether Gazer and Tsumugi Karashina in Fatal Frame 5. Sarah, welcome to the show. You are now the second voice actor from 100 Line that I've interviewed, and while I try to make this show like Hot Ones, like with Sean Evans, we don't have hot wings, but I'll still try and be an entertaining host, which is something that I think Darumi would appreciate as a fan of junk food, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Perfect,
I
perfect.
do.
What are your thoughts going into this? Like, are you like feeling like, oh, I love 100 Line? Like, how's it been so far for you? Like the experience of voicing her?
So I have to say she's the most fun I've ever had voicing for a video game. So I voice video games. I also voice commercials, TV spots, English language tapes, cartoons. I've got a big cartoon coming out next year on Disney Plus. So, there's I do a lot of different things, but I have to say she is the most fun I've ever had voicing for a video game. And I was very lucky because our director was fantastic and he was so into it. He really helped us sort of understand what was going on because, as you probably know, when you get cast in one of these things, you get NDA'd very heavily. And so they don't even want you to really know what's going on, but you can be told once you're there. So everything is like very fresh and very new. But our director was so fantastic because he was really able to tell us as much as he could in a very we basically knew everything that was going on, which is not always what happens when we voice something like this. And so I felt like I was able to really get into the character in a way that I don't always get to do just because of the way that they're done. But yeah, I love her. And I love that she's she's very layered, She's someone who's really hurting and she's putting on sort of a facade to get through the day. So I think a lot of people can probably relate to that.
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot more about that in a bit. But I have to imagine with voicing a character, there have to be certain things, like you mentioned, sort of that in life that reminds you of them. Is there anything in particular that's done that for you with Darumi? And do you think that there's anything in the real world that Darumi would be a fan of? So basically, I'm just asking you, like, what your headcanons are for her. Like, is she a fan of Saw? Is she like into Final Destination? Like, what do you think she would like in the real world? And this can be anything.
So Darumi is really into the old school games. She has a lot of her knowledge. So I have to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of knowledge of video games. Okay. So
It's all good.
so I'm going into this, but I think she is a fan of the old school games. She really likes quite interesting pornography. She is someone who doesn't really have a lot of. I think she's an avid. I think she reads a lot of comic books and she reads a lot of manga. I think she reads a lot of just graphic novels in general because I think. Well, I know her childhood was extremely difficult, and it continues to be. She continues to have basically a not a real relationship with her mother, and things are strained with her dad. So I think she's not really had a lot of growing up the way that a lot of other kids have. So I think a lot of her tastes are quite inappropriate, possibly even for her age and things like that. So, yeah,
But it is how she copes, so that is
it's how she copes. Yeah,
Also,
and I think she genuinely loves it. So,
when you first read Darumi's script, how did you tap into that balance of her fascination with killing games and the weight of her trauma? And was there a specific moment in the recording booth where you felt you truly unlocked her voice?
yes. So I think for me, I can relate to her in a lot of ways. I think I went through some hard times when I was in my sort of late teens, early 20s, going to drama school. And I used a lot of things, not the same things as her, but I used things to cope in ways that were probably not completely healthy. And so I could definitely relate to that aspect of her personality. The director let us improv quite a lot. So all of the lines that you're hearing as the person playing the game are the script.
Mm-hmm.
But we improv'd a lot of stuff. We were allowed to improv a lot of stuff that was not in the script. And so that was extremely helpful, because I would just go on these tangents with her. And there was one in particular that I went on, which just, it sort of nailed it in. And when I did that, I wouldn't be able to tell you or remember what I said, but it was something about that particular tangent that I went on. And I just fell into this rhythm with her voice, and the director was like, that's it. And then from then on, we were just doing script, and we would still do some little improvs here and there to kind of like keep the momentum going. But yeah, I would say he was just really brilliant. And so we were given a lot of freedom to experiment with the voice.
I've heard a lot of high praises for the director, and I was just curious,
Yes.
what kind of improv? Like, I've not heard that so far. Like what?
Oh,
do you
just
remember any voice lines that were improv?
No, I would just continue talking after the voice line was over.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really simple things, not anything major or long, but it was just little things to kind of get me in. And of course, they're just recording sort of, they do cut obviously, but they're recording quite a lot of the time. So things would get recorded and he would be like, I wish I could put that in, but I can't. He put out a recording, I think it was before the game came out, but it was of me doing one of my sort of like lines, and it's really funny, and that was kind of one of we improv'd a lot with me singing things, so I sang a lot of lines sometimes.
This one actually comes from someone on Twitter. Their name is endless_Del. They wanted to know if Darumi had a favorite saw trap, which would it be?
I mean, I would say mechanical complexity, probably, because anything that is torturous,
She'd like.
I mean, she's into like, stuff that's really gruesome, and anything that involves, I would say anything that involves sort of like physical or psychological torture of some kind.
Probably.
Yes.
So, completely shifting gears, when you were recording, did you get to collaborate with other voice actors, or was it more about imagining those relationships solo in the booth?
We were solo, all of us. And so they would sometimes, if they'd already recorded somebody on the lines around yours, they would play them in for you. And so you could react to that. But other times they hadn't recorded that person. So sometimes then your voice would be played for them. So yeah, it just completely would depend on the day. I think I went in maybe about 4 or 5 times to record. So it was always different, depending.
So with Darumi, it's implied that she has feelings for several of the characters in the game. So I'm curious
Yes.
if I could bounce some of the most popular pairings from 100 Line off of you, and we can do kind of like a ship or skip. How does that sound?
Sure.
All right. So a lot of people like this one. I like this one a lot. Hiriko and Darumi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say skip. I know that people love it. I do think she really admires him. But keep going.
Hiriko's a her. Hiriko was a her. You said him.
I did.
I
I can't remember their names.
It's
I don't play the games. You have to understand, I don't play the games. And in my
It's all
mind...
good. It's all good.
Okay, well then I'm gonna ship that then.
All right.
I've changed my mind.
Darumi and Takumi.
That's what I meant. That's who I meant. I'm gonna have to skip that.
Okay, gotcha. Even though in
Yes.
Retsnam, she confesses her love to her or to him. I made
To
it
him. I know, but it's because, well, I think she does, but I think she admires him.
We
And I
all
think
do.
he's someone, but also he's been there for her and he hasn't hurt her. Almost all the men she's known have hurt her.
Right.
So I think for her, this feels much like love, and it probably is love, but romantically, I'm gonna say skip.
Darumi and Tsubasa.
Can you?
that was where Tsubasa kissed her for like a minute straight.
Oh yes. Well, I'm gonna say skip. I do think that, that was some fun times. But I'm not gonna say that that's I don't think that that's, long there's no longevity there.
Okay. And then finally the killing game polycule. So that's Darumi, Takumi, Tsubasa, and Yugamu. They all talk about being roommates, and they all talk about, renting an apartment and all that after the killing game brews.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think it's something that she'd be up for and wants to do.
Absolutely.
I don't think that that again, it's not, I don't know, this romantic necessarily.
That's totally fair. With respect to Darumi, how did your experience as a playwright help you bring authenticity to Darumi's character, and was there a particular scene where you felt her pain most acutely?
Yes. So I think as a writer, when you're writing characters, you always want to you have to be inside the head of every single character you write, whether you agree with them, what they're doing, or whether you feel like you are like them or not. You might be totally different from them, but you have to go deep within to that character's psyche and try to figure out what their motivations are. So that's the same thing that I would do if I'm acting. So for me, voicing for Darumi, I think for me, voicing the section about her parents and then what she's had to do in her job, which she doesn't really tell you full on, but I think it's implied what that was. That was very emotional, but of course I had to hide that emotion because Darumi's hiding that she cares about it. So that I think was kind of the most interesting part for me as someone who's a writer and an actor, was those sections where she's sort of musing about things in her past.
Got you. So I have to imagine that there were voice lines that you were reading in your head, and internally you had to have been like, what even is this? Like, what am I reading on this script right now? So did you keep a straight face while doing the more extreme or obscene lines, or did you break character a few times and laugh?
Well, Darumi is laughing for a lot of the extreme lines.
That is true.
So I actually was just like in that mindset, and I wish that there was video of me recording her sometimes, because I think the look on my face was very I think I was like really into it in the studio. And the cool thing about where we recorded was that when you go in, there's no chair. So it's just, you see the screen in front of you and then there's a mic. And so you can literally act out the scene. They put the mic on your head. So you can literally move. You don't even have to stand still. So I was just in the room moving around.
With Darumi, what was the voice direction like overall? Were you actively pushed to make her non-Retsnom line reads as out there and as high energy as possible, or was it more toward your discretion?
Both, which is why Tom is such a good director, because he really let us play around to try to find the character, but he also, if he saw you going in a certain way and he really liked it, he'd be like, that, more of that, so he'd really push you into the direction that, he felt like you were already kind of going, but he just wanted to lock it in. So yeah, it's good.
So Darumi is pretty knowledgeable about the killing game genre, so do you think she would have a favorite piece of media from that type, and what would it be?
Yeah, so the ones that we had kind of just talked about with her, where we talked about Squid Games, we talked about the Hunger Games because of the scrappiness of that, and kind of some of the weapon use and things like that. I think for me as an actor, I called on things that, I know that are like, that I always found really fun. And I did a lot of stage combat many years ago, and I used to choreograph shows and things, and so for me, I think I pulled on, when I was voicing her, I pulled out something like Rob Roy, where one of the characters stabs another character in the back with a broadsword and blood spews out of his mouth. And so that's where I was going, because that's kind of the stuff that I'm into, but I think for Darumi, Danganronpa from the game from before that the same guys did, is definitely something that, she would be totally into.
Oh, absolutely. If you had to rank your top 3 Darumi lines in the entire game, what would they be? And can you explain your strategy for voicing them to perfection?
So I had to sing die, 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 and I had to sing it. And I have not actually heard it in the game, but I think it is in there.
I think,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
it
sure it's in
absolutely
there.
is. It absolutely
So
is.
that would be my first favorite because that was just so funny, and we had such a good time figuring out how we wanted to do that. I also I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact line, but I really liked um, the bit where she's trying to fit in. Like it's close to when you first meet her, and she's kind of saying all these things that come off a little cringy. But she's just like word vomiting, and that was really sweet to voice. So she's talking about like just she's making references to other games and things, and it's kind of like everyone's still like, okay, who are you? So I really like that, and then I also really liked. There's a brutal kill that she does where you can pick her.
Right, right.
And then
The extermination scenes. Yep, yep.
yeah, and so I got to do this. I did this little sing-songy thing, like I'm coming in, and then like, yeah, and then I sing like something like, "This is crazy,"
Yep,
I just
yep.
scream. Yeah, that was just really fun because we did loads of different types of takes of that, and I really didn't think they were gonna pick the singing one, and so I was really happy when they did.
I will say, when I got to the first Commander extermination sequence, I picked Darumi, and when she did it and like had the reaction, that was probably the moment I was like, okay, she is in my top 3 favorites of all time. And as the game progressed, she 100% is in that top 3, 100%. So I did some research, and this might shock you. Darumi is one of the characters that dies most in the 100 line, all the second game routes. So I'm curious if you feel that a story in which your character suffers but ultimately gets a happy ending, is that better than a slice of life, no pain involved story?
Ooh, do you mean for her or for me?
Either or both.
I mean, she does die more. I remember having to record like a huge amount of deaths for her and being like, what is happening?
If you want, I can give you the percentage of routes where she dies. I have that number.
What is it? Do you have it?
I can, yeah. 27% she lives in all 100 routes.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, Darumi says many times that she would like to die.
Right.
I think part of what's so sad about her is that she actually feels like in death that she will have done something worthy and that she will be loved. And so it's actually just really sad. I don't think she's not suicidal, but it's just I just think that that's how she feels like she'll be remembered and loved as she dies. So I mean, I don't think it's really necessarily super sad for her. In her mind, it's not a super sad thing for her to die. And I think that's kind of why she's so gung-ho about, attacking all of these monsters and stuff.
Right, right. I interviewed Min, who voices Hiruko, and they said that Red Storm was one of their favorite routes in the game because of how emotional
Okay.
it was. Given Darumi is a pretty big player in that route, did you feel the same thing?
Yeah. It got more intense as we went on. And then of course she she comes out with a lot more stuff and she becomes more open and honest with the rest of the players, so definitely.
That was one of my favorite routes.
It was incredible.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Speaking of, what
I
were
mean,
your
when I
favorite-
was doing, I just loved that. I mean, I had this whole massive monologue in that. I'm pretty sure it's in that section.
Yep.
And it was just, we did it a few times. And it was just, it really felt like she finally trusted people enough to just be herself. And So for me, I felt like that was a breakthrough and a really happy thing, even though what she's saying is not happy, but I feel like for her internally, it was actually a really important moment for her.
So I will say this is the last question. I did this with Min, and I'm hoping we can do this with you too. So
Okay.
I have this grand plan to interview all of the 100-line voice actors, and it
Okay.
hit me that I could practically ask any question out there. It got me thinking about something that the Team Fortress 2 community did, which was to have all of the voice actors say their character name and then the word gaming. So I was hoping that we could get a couple renditions of Darumi Gaming as something for the fans.
Yeah, sure. So I just say my name and then I say the word gaming?
Yeah, so just Darumi Gaming. That's it.
Okay.
And in her voice.
Okay.
And we can do a couple takes, so
Okay.
whenever you're
Cool.
ready.
All right. Darumi Amemiya gaming.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Pitard, everyone. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming on. And so Hot Ones, they have 3 cameras that Sean points to. I don't have 3 cameras, so I'll just point to my 1 camera. Let the people know what you got going on in your life. Where can they hear you in the future? What are your future plans? What projects you got working on?
Well, I'm NDA'd, but I do have a cartoon coming out next year on Disney Plus. So that will be very cool. I don't have like a channel really, but I have I'm on Instagram and I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Threads, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on maybe that's it. I'm on LinkedIn, but that's boring. So yeah, and it's just at Sarah Pitard for everything. So you should be able to find me easy.
Are you going to appear at any cons upcoming at all?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I've done the con a few times. I did a con like years and years ago. I was in this little web series years and years ago, and we did 2 years at the London Comic Con, and it was really fun. I would love to do a con. I don't know how I do that, so maybe I don't know. I'm not sure, but if the people involved in the game do it, then I would definitely go. I'm so kind of, I think since having my son, I feel like I've been very disconnected to a lot of this stuff, and so it would be really fun to get back into it.